Financial freedom isn't about net worth. It's about how much of your money is accessible, meaning how much do you have access to? How much of your money is predictable, knowing what comes in every month, and also having control, which means you decide what happens to it without stress, restriction, or constant effort. Because you can have $2 million on paper and still dealing with stress, still tied to obligations, still needing to stay on the hamster wheel just to keep everything running. I have seen people with over $1 million in asset tied up in real estate, retirement accounts, and investments, and they cannot step away. They cannot access their money easily. And if something unexpected happens, they are still scrambling for cash, taking on loans. I was one of those people. On paper, they look wealthy, but in reality, they are working to support their money. You want your money accessible, predictable, and under your control without stress, without restriction, or constant effort. So, after being tired of having high net worth but no access, I built a structure that gave me access to my own money at all times, tax advantage, and control. And this structure helped me become my own bank. So, in this video, I'm going to show you how to restructure the way you think about money so you stop chasing net worth and high numbers on paper and start building income and systems that you can actually use, control, and rely on in real life. Here's the illusion most people chase. Most people start with this idea: if I just build a high enough net worth, I will be free. So they go after $500,000, $1 million, $2 million in real estate, retirement account, and businesses. And yes, the number grows. It looks good on paper, but their freedom doesn't grow at the same speed. Because as assets increase, so does complexity. More responsibilities, more rules, more taxes, more things that require your time and attention. Let me show you something most people only realize after years of chasing money. Take someone with $2 million in real estate, for example. It sounds like freedom. You have leverage, potential cash, plus appreciation. You can build meaningful net worth with fewer dollars upfront. But in reality, you're still dealing with mortgage or mortgages, depending on how many. Tenants are still calling. Repairs still happen. You're still dealing with repairs. And the business stops as soon as you stop showing up. You are also in debt because your money is tied down there. If you step away too long, things start breaking. And if you decide to sell, you get a massive capital gain tax. Your net worth may be high when you have this, but your freedom depends on management. Let's take business ownership, for example. The advantage here is income potential and control over your earnings. But here is the truth most entrepreneurs eventually learn. If the business only works when you're present, it is not freedom yet. You still have a lot of responsibilities. You can't step away from that business. This is why it's very important to structure right from the beginning. Now, the third one is retirement account. Let's say you have $500,000 in your 401k. The benefit of this is that you get tax deferred growth and often employer match. But the trade-off is also very clear. You do not have access to this money or full control without tax consequences later or penalties if you touch this money before time. And the fourth account is your Roth IRA. Let's say you have some money in your Roth IRA. This gives you powerful long-term tax flexibility. But again, the trade-off is timing. You're generally building in this bucket for the future, not immediate liquidity. If you decide to touch this account, you're going to have penalties and fees. You can't touch these accounts without penalties and fees. So this investment, they look strong on paper. But most of that money is locked up behind rules, behind timing, taxes, and penalties. So even with a high net worth, when you add up all of these things, even with a high net worth on paper, the amount that you can actually use today, like if you needed to get access to this money, it is very limited. And that is the key difference. Net worth is not the same as access. Now compare that to something simpler. Let's say someone with one or two income streams bringing in about $10,000 a month. They may have less on paper. They may not have the real estate and all of this retirement accounts, but their experience is completely different. Money comes in regularly. They can use it immediately. They can reinvest it. They can pause and they can adjust as they want. They can step away without everything collapsing. They're not managing assets, they are managing cash flow. Cash flow is king when you are talking about financial freedom. This person has access, liquidity, and control. The real difference, the high net worth person often feels like they can't step away. They're managing too many moving pieces. I always have to manage something. I'm doing well, but I don't feel free. The person that is focused on cash flow feels completely different. I know what is coming in. I know what comes in every month. I have flexibility. My life doesn't depend on constant effort. This is a structure that I had to pivot from focusing on net worth to focusing on cash flow. Now, notice something very important. Every bucket has its strength. The 401k bucket, the Roth bucket, the real estate, the business bucket, they all have their strength. So, what happens over time? People end up rich on paper but fragmented in real life because their money is everywhere in multiple buckets, but not always available when they actually need it. And this creates a quiet frustration most people don't talk about. They talk about their net worth and their assets and all of these things, but each time they need money, they have to go get a loan because they don't have access to liquid cash. So, financial freedom isn't when you hit a number, it's when your money stops depending on your constant presence to work. Because if everything falls apart when you step away, you don't own the freedom yet. You're still having a lot of responsibilities, juggling multiple things to keep them moving. But when your system, your structure begins to produce stable income without constant effort, you gain something far more valuable than a bigger number on the paper. You gain options, you gain control, you gain liquidity, and you gain access to your money. So when I'm working with my clients, here is what I do. The goal is not to pick one bucket. The goal is not to just do real estate or business or your 401k or your Roth. The goal is not to pick one bucket. It is to build a balanced system where all four buckets work together. But the key is you want at least one component of your financial life that gives you access, where you can touch your money whenever you want to, control, where you can decide what happens with your money, not the government taking all the taxes away, and liquidity, where you can use your money anytime. Because without this layer, everything else can feel locked or delayed. And when people finally see this clearly, the goal shifts. It stops being how do I grow the biggest net worth? How do I accumulate the most assets? And it becomes how do I make my money actually usable in real life? Another issue is the tax reality most people never think about. Different buckets are taxed differently and often at different times. Some of the buckets grow tax deferred, like your 401k, but are taxed heavily when you withdraw. Some are tax free later, but require long holding periods, like your Roth IRA. Some are taxed as they generate income year by year, like your real estate or your business. But if this isn't planned properly, you don't just grow wealth, you grow future tax exposure too. That's why two people with the same net worth can end up with completely different real world outcome when it comes to cash flow, when it comes to them having access to their money, when it comes to them having liquidity, and when it comes to them having control. not because of how they invested, but because of how their money is structured. If this is you right now, money spread across different accounts, but no clear structure, book a free call with me and I'll show you the exact structure that I use so your money becomes accessible, tax efficient, and under your control, not locked away, delayed, or dependent on constant effort. That is the difference between having high net worth on paper and actually being financial free. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.